Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajākācārya Stotra Satahis Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BT Founder Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Govardhan Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Samved Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauraangi, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna everyone. Today we have gathered to read from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is. And we are in chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies. And the text is 20. So we'll read the verse and we will read the purport and discuss the purport. Atha vyavasthitān dṛṣṭvā dhṛtarāṣṭrān kapi-dhvajaḥ pravṛtte śastra-sampāte dhanur udyamya pāṇḍavaḥ hṛṣīkeśaṁ tadā vākyam idam mahī-pate atha vyavasthitān dṛṣṭvā dhārtarāṣṭrān kapi-dhvajaḥ pravṛtte śastra-sampāte dhanur udyamya pāṇḍavaḥ hṛṣīkeśaṁ tadā vākyam idam mahī-pate atha vyavasthitān dṛṣṭvā dhārtarāṣṭrān kapi-dhvajaḥ pravṛtte śastra-sampāte dhanur udyamya pāṇḍavaḥ hṛṣīkeśaṁ tadā vākyam idam mahī-pate. Word for word. Atha, thereupon. Vyavasthitān, situated. Dṛṣṭvā, looking upon. Dhārtarāṣṭrān, the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. Kapi-dhvajaḥ, he whose flag was marked with Hanumān. Pravṛtte, while about to engage. Śastra-sampāte, in releasing his arrows. Dhanuḥ, bow. Udyamya, taking up. Pāṇḍavaḥ, the son of Pāṇḍu. Arjuna. hṛṣīkeśaṁ, unto Lord Kṛṣṇa. Tadā, at that time. Vākyam, words. Idam, these. Atha, said. Mahī-pate, O king. Translation. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pāṇḍu, seated in the chariot, bearing the flag marked with Hanumān, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra drawn in a military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Kṛṣṇa these words. Purport. By His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pāṇḍavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Kṛṣṇa on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanumān on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory, because Hanumān cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now, both Rama and Hanumān were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Kṛṣṇa is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanumān and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever, and above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Kṛṣṇa, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Staptitam yena bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauraangi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So I will read the verse again. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pāṇḍu, seated in the chariot, bearing the flag marked with Hanumān, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Kṛṣṇa these words. So here, the scene is that Arjuna and Kṛṣṇa is in their chariot, and they have a flag of Hanumān waving above their heads. It is actually very significant, this Hanumān's flag, because it is explained by our senior devotees how when the Pāṇḍavas were in exile, then Draupadi wanted to, at one day she wanted to get some very beautiful lotus flower for Yudhishthira Maharaj, and then she asked Bhima if he could get this lotus flower for her to offer to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So then Bhima, he went to get these flowers, and she said, don't bring just one, you bring several. So he went, and he had to go up in the mountain. So then he noticed that someone is on his way. So then he said, oh, you, get out of my way, I need to go and get the flowers. So this, whoever was that who slept there, he wasn't moving. He said, I'm too old now to move. But Bhima was not so much tolerant. He he started to get agitated. But when he understood that this person is really very old and he cannot move out of the way, then he said, but I need to go there. Then this person said, just move my tail on the side and then pass around. So Bhima he wanted to take and move this tail. He couldn't lift the tail. So he was very impressed and he immediately changed his mood and became very respectful to that person. And then he wanted to introduce and found out. And this was Hanumān lying there on the Bhima's path. So they were very happy to see each other because they were both brothers, the sons of Vayu. And as Hanumān was so also happy to see Bhima, so he told him that when you will fight, I will, with my power I will also be helping and protecting you. And when you will roar, I will roar together with you. So whenever Bhima was roaring, then Hanumān also in the flag was roaring. So in that way, the opposing army got very, very impressed and their hearts were shattered. So that's why it is here mentioned is Hanumān. Another aspect what we can see in Hanumān is Prabhupada writes in one of his lectures on this verse that as Lord Ram was fighting, as Hanumān was fighting for Lord Ram, for his supreme Lord, the same Arjuna is also about to fight for Krishna's sake, not because he wants to fight or because it is his desire. He would fight for Krishna. So he takes shelter of Hanumān as his predecessor, Acharya. Yeah? So the same us also we need to understand this principle of taking shelter of our Acharyas for getting blessings to traverse this path of bhakti. So in this way, we can see that the Vaishnava thinks himself very helpless without these superior blessings. And in this way here also Arjuna is taking shelter of Hanumān, because Hanumān already offered this boon. But if there is no surrender of the inferior person, then the boon is just like it's not bearing the fruit. It's not giving those blessings. So there should be both sides. There should be surrender, and then the mercy and blessings come. So in that way, a devotee should always feel very helpless. Helpless in any situation. Even though devotee may be most qualified and most perfect, but the devotee's mood is helpless. He is unable to execute anything without begging for mercy. And if there is any success, that is due to mercy. That's what is the vision of devotees. So actually this helplessness, it is a natural characteristic of the soul. Because the soul belonging to the marginal energy, tatashta shakti, is actually helpless on its own. Yeah? Soul needs some kind of shelter. And that is the soul's free will to choose either to be under shelter of material energy, inferior material energy, or Krishna's internal energy, superior, spiritual. So that's tata, yeah? Tatashta. Tata means like a coast, like a border in ocean, moving, sometimes here, sometimes there. So this is Jiva's nature also. Sometimes the spiritual, under spiritual energy, sometimes at the shelter of material energy. But on its own, there is no Jiva's independent existence, because Jiva is helpless. And this is the nature of Jiva. And in a material world, people or any kind of living entity try to put some kind of mask and ignore that helplessness. But actually, they are forced to accept it at some point, sooner or later. when already they drowned so much deep in this material ocean, the ocean of material existence, and the water is already coming in a mouth, then they have to call for help. They may not know even who they are calling for help, but there is kind of a desperacy, and then they call. Some know, some don't know. But the jiva is forced to be under the grip of material energy here in this world. It is said in Bhagavad-Gita. We know this verse in another context when we say, it's from Bhagavad-Gita 5:6, it said, everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. And then it goes, therefore, restraining the activities doesn't make any use, because the person will act anyway. But another point of this verse is actually that jiva is not free to act in this world. He is acting under the influence of material energy. Whatever material energy is given, in that way, jiva is acting. So like that, so no one can restrain from these activities. And what we perform, what we are inclined to, it is given us by this external energy of the Lord, the material energy, bahiranga, Shakti. So then Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita also that this divine energy of mine, consisting of 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So the point here is that a living entity cannot overcome the Maya, the illusory energy, alone. Yeah? Maya has bound the jiva with divine ropes. Yeah? It's a divine energy of mine. So this sattva, rajas, tamas are divine ropes. It is Krishna's arrangement. And this Krishna's arrangement is, because it is Krishna's arrangement, that's why jiva cannot set him or herself free alone. Only Krishna can untie these ropes, or a bona fide representative of Krishna. So that's a helplessness of jiva, always depending on something. So as I already mentioned, that at one point time comes and the person has to call for help to someone higher. And we see in a situation, for example, let's say Gajendra, he knew how to pray. Yeah? But somehow it's said from previous life he remembered. So he knew, so he prayed. He was in a helpless situation and he prayed. For example, Ajamil, he was in a helpless situation and he didn't actually know. He didn't remember Lord. He didn't know. He was just somehow fortunate by his birth, that he named his son Narayan. So it happened like this. But whether we know or we don't know who to pray to, at some point a situation comes in a person's life that we have to pray. There was one devotee. Now she is devotee, that time she wasn't. And she was in a very difficult situation in her family life. She was undergoing some abuse from her husband, and she was always scared to go home. She was working, and then after work, she didn't want to go home, but she had nowhere to go. So then she was standing in a bus station, and her small son was also there, and she was crying because she thought, I have nowhere to go, but I have to go there where I don't want to go. And then she was telling her stories that she was looking in the sky, and we say, God, if you exist, then please appear now in front of my face. And then what happened? Her small son immediately, Mommy, Mommy, and he took signs of self-realization with Paramatma, and he said, look what I found. And this is how Krishna appeared in front of her face. And then she said, no, this is not our book. Put where you got it. No, it was just here, I found it. So they found the book like this. So in that way, she became devotee immediately. She was just seeing this reciprocation because of her desperate prayer. Yeah. So this is our role to play. We need to be desperate in our prayer. And it's not just a conditioned jiva that is helpless. This is like a helplessness in ignorance
helplessness out of no other choice. But the devotee, it's a nature of devotee to actually be helpless, to beg for the mercy of the Lord and the previous acharyas. And the same desperate mood will draw the Lord's and the gurus and acharyas' attention towards the one who prays, and the mercy will flow. So Prabhupada writes that he says, it is a class in Paris. Yes, Prabhupada says, if he thinks himself that I am a non-entity, helpless, then he can remain. If he thinks I can do something, I have got some intelligence, then he cannot become humble. Just like a child is humble always because he knows that I am completely helpless. Unless mother helps me, I am completely helpless. Therefore, whenever he is in need of something, he cries, "Mother, help me." This is helplessness. Helplessness always. Karpanye. This is one of the items of surrender. Unless you think yourself helpless, you cannot surrender. Surrender is complete when you think yourself that you are helpless. I am helpless because I am helpless, but because I am surrendered to Krishna, he will save me. This faith also must be there, that although I am helpless, not although I am factually helpless, but because I am surrendered to Krishna, I have no danger. He'll help me. He will protect me. Yeah. So here Prabhupada also stressing this helplessness. So as a devotee, being around other devotees, devotee should not think that, oh, I am already chanting 5 years, I am already chanting 20 years, my father, mother, grandfather, everybody is already devotee, knowing everything. This is actually disqualification. But there is such a tendency to always show something to others, how I am so qualified. Yeah? So this attitude is actually not a devotee attitude. Yeah? Devotee attitude is, I am helpless and I am not I have no qualification whatsoever. But if Krishna wants, he can make me act in a way he wants me to act. Yeah, and then we know that there was a pastime with Advaita Acharya and Mahaprabhu, which indicates of the mood of Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya, what they want to see in their followers. This is when, in one instance, Advaita Acharya was worshipping Mahaprabhu with Arti, and Mahaprabhu was asking him, "What boon shall I give you? Ask something." But Advaita Acharya says, "I have no any desire. I don't want anything. I don't need any boon." But Mahaprabhu was asking and asking. And Advaita Acharya was still saying, "No, I don't have anything." But because Gauraanga insisted again and again, so then Advaita Acharya agreed to ask something. So the thing he asked was very specific. He said, "Oh, my dear Lord, Chaitanya." At that time, he was not yet sannyas, so he was not Chaitanya. "Yeah, my dear Lord," he says, "anyone who has no qualification, anybody who is unqualified, please give them your mercy. But anybody who thinks he is qualified, don't give them mercy." And Mahaprabhu said, "Okay." So this was their agreement. So now we need to see, do we want to have a mercy or not want to have mercy? Do we want to see any kind of good qualification, why we deserve something, or we don't want to see this in ourselves? So the devotee should never see any kind of qualification that he deserves something in himself. But he should be very enthusiastic to execute any kind of service to the Lord, despite of his disqualification. Just the hope of Lord's mercy will be the driving force of a devotee. And especially in Kali Yuga, Nobody has any qualification. What is this qualification there in Kali Yuga? But this disqualification in a Kali Yuga people is actually a qualification, yeah, to receive this mercy. So if in this age most unqualified become most qualified, and it is said that those who take shelter of the Lord in a form of their holy name are actually counted as Mahabhagavats. If those who worship the Lord with the Sankirtan, they are counted as Mahabhagavats. So this is a disqualification what becomes a qualification. And there is a long passage which I would like to read to you from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, purport. It says, it's very important, so please listen very attentively. In Skanda Purana, as well as in the other Puranas, there is the following statement. Mahabhagavata kalau kurvanti kirtanam. During Kali Yuga, the great devotees of the Lord always engage in kirtan, chanting the Lord's holy names. It is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be merciful, and He is especially merciful to those who, in a helpless condition, take complete shelter of His lotus feet. Yeah? Let's repeat again. The nature of the Lord is to be merciful, and He is especially merciful to those who, in a helpless condition, take complete shelter of His lotus feet. One can immediately take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord by chanting His holy names. According to Sridhar Swami, even in previous ages, such as Satya Yuga, it was not possible for the living entities to achieve the perfection that is available in Kali Yuga. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this as follows. So this is what Jiva Goswami explains, yeah? In former ages, such as Satya Yuga, human beings were perfectly qualified and easily performed even the most difficult spiritual processes, meditating for many thousands of years, practically without eating and sleeping. Thus, although in any age one who completely takes shelter of Lord's holy names gets all perfection, but what happened? The highly qualified inhabitants of Satya Yuga do not consider that the merely moving the tongue and lips, chanting the holy name, is a complete process, and then the Lord's holy name is the only shelter within the universe. So they don't have such an attitude. They are more attracted to the difficult and elaborate yoga system of meditation, complete with sophisticated sitting postures, painstaking control of the breath, and deep extended meditations in trance on the personality of Godhead within the heart. In Satya Yuga, sinful life is practically unheard of, and therefore people are not afflicted with the terrible reactions seen in Kali Yuga, such as world war, famine, plague, drought, insanity, etc. It is very important now. Although in Satya Yuga people always worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life and meticulously follow His laws called dharma, they do not feel themselves to be in a helpless condition, and thus they do not always experience intense love for God. They do not always experience this intense dependence because they think they can do it, and they actually can do it. They have that qualification. So here we can say Kali Yuga ki jai, yeah? We can love Krishna, but we have to love. It's not just we have to be in Kali Yuga and remain in Kali Yuga. We have to accept this helpless situation, yeah? Because in Kali Yuga is also, we are slow, lazy. No. So nobody wants to do anything extra. Yeah? So like this. So we have to accept this helplessness and follow the previous acharyas and accept their mercy. Prabhupada says this is a Vaishnavism. This is actually Vaishnavism. So this we understood, it is a characteristic of jiva, it is nature of a devotee. And what is actually the consequence of this helplessness? What is the activity? What helplessness makes us to do? It makes us to surrender. Yeah? So it's kind of a preliminary surrender is to seek for shelter in difficult situations. So this is what we said. Oh, in Kali Yuga is so difficult. Everything is so much trouble. Famine, drought, world war, and I am also not very qualified and weak and not able to do anything. So I'll take in shelter of the Lord, and He is going to help me. Yeah. So this is a preliminary surrender to make life a little better. Yeah. So, and Prabhupada also writes, he says, it's also class actually, not right. He says, and why we are fearful? Because we have taken it that there is no God. Yeah? Anyone is fearful here of anything? Snake, cockroach, hunger, yeah? So means you have taken that there is no God. That means fearful. You think there is no God. Therefore we are fearful, just like a forlorn child. When he thinks that my father and mother is lost, yeah? Then the child is lost, he cries. He thinks himself, I'm helpless, where is my mother? Similarly, when we are helpless, we are fearful. And those who are Krishna conscious, they are not helpless. Yeah? Those who have not taken this idea, as there's no God, they are not fearful. Yeah? That's why Abhay Charan, our spiritual master, is not fearful. He's Abhay, he's not fearful. So, the devotees, those who are Krishna conscious, they are not helpless. They know, above me, there is Krishna. And Sharanagati, surrender, means to have firm conviction that Krishna will protect me. I am engaged in Krishna's service, so Krishna will give me protection. If I work in some ordinary man's service, he gives me protection. Don't you think if you work for Krishna, he will not give you protection? Because we have no faith, therefore we are seeking protection from elsewhere. But Krishna is able to help us. Yeah? So there were two things. One thing, that we have to serve Krishna. It's not that we are going around the world and thinking about our maintenance, and then we say, oh, Krishna, I know you can do, please. Yeah? No, we serve Krishna, and that's why we gain this confidence that I am doing this for Krishna, not for anything else, no one else, not even for my sake, for Krishna. So then Krishna will help. He is able to do. Yeah? So that's, we should not, he said, if we don't have faith in Krishna, we are not Krishna conscious, we will seek for protection somewhere else. And this is one thing, is a danger, yeah? Or some kind of money problem or something. But it could also be some emotional problem. When we don't get the emotional satisfaction from Krishna, from the holy name, because in Kali Yuga Krishna is a holy name. When we don't get, then we search for emotional shelter in some other person, husband, wife, child, friend, and of course we will not get it, because who is capable of satisfying us? But then we think, oh, this world, these people, like this. So this is very external. So like this, something bad can happen to us, and we think that we should take shelter of Krishna. But what bad happens to us? What is this bad? What is actually bad? For a devotee, there is nothing bad, because the devotee knows that everything comes from Krishna. There is nothing bad. And devotee also, we should know, actually does not have any karma. So everything is from Krishna. If we count our karma, then actually we have to be in a hell. This is our karma. Yeah? So we need to think that if I count all my karma, I was a dog, I was a cockroach, I was doing this, I was this, all my lifetimes, if I count all my karma, then my suitable place, according to karma, the justice, is hell. But now I only got a car accident and broke my leg. Yeah? So it is very merciful. Krishna is so merciful. I only cut my hand, like this. So this is a devotee's perception. Yeah? So Krishna is very kind. So Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad-Gita, it is also said that such a fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified brahmanas. So this is devotees who have not completed their spiritual journey in one lifetime, so then they get birth in qualified brahmanas or in a rich mercantile family. A devotee in such position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put in a position seemingly of helplessness. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate. But the devotee who is put in a forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. Yeah? So here again we see, the more material qualification we have, the less helpless we feel. So this is not something very good. Yeah? So like that, so devotees in this helpless situation should calling out for the Lord. This is a devotee's mind. Like we know example, very famous about Draupadi, yeah, how she gained the mercy of the Lord. We know about Vrajavasis with demons. This is a completely different level. Yeah, the cowherd boys enter the mouth of big snake, but no problem. Krishna is here with us. What can happen? Nothing can happen. Yeah. Yeah, but who of us will think like this? No? A small snake we see and we are scared. Yeah, so like that. So this is fearlessness of a devotee. Actually, since we talk of snakes, I will read one section from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he speaks about also about fearlessness of a devotee. Let me just see if I lost the page now. Okay. Here it is. It is from Jaiva Dharma, chapter 4, entitled Vaishnava Dharma is Nitya Dharma. So here there is a conversation with Sri Vaishnava Das Babaji and Lahiri Mahashai. So Babaji is saying, it's a strong words, but it is important because we have come here to learn the truth. Yeah? The material body is not eternal, and one will certainly have to give it up someday. So it's about fear. So what to fear? At one point we will die. As far as the body is concerned, we should simply perform the activity that is necessary to maintain it, and nothing more. When the body collapses by the will of Krishna, body collapses by the will of Krishna, it cannot be saved by any kind of effort. But until the designated time for the demise of the body has arrived, a snake cannot harm a person, even if he is sleeping right next to it. Yeah? So there is a point when we have to die, and then we will die. And when the point has not come, even amidst the greatest danger, nothing will happen. So it's not just a theory or some kind of, oh yeah, nice point. This is actually what we have to have it in our heart and in mind, and this should be our consciousness. Therefore, now this is important, therefore, one may not introduce himself as a Vaishnava until he gets rid of this fear of snakes and all such things. Yeah? Because real Vaishnava is surrendered to the Lord. So there should not be any fear. So here, Babaji Maharaj is saying, one should not introduce himself of Vaishnava as long as he has all this fear of all these kind of things. If the mind is agitated by such fears, how will one be able to fix it upon the lotus feet of Sri Hari? So one should certainly stop being afraid of snakes and trying to kill them out of fear. Huh? So then it continues that yes, sages live in caves. But here, of course, we should not be foolish also. No? Fearlessness doesn't mean foolishness or recklessness. That means that we have to attain naturally this state of mind. Not just go around and in some danger and say, look, you see, I am not fearful. Okay, I die. This was supposed to happen. You know, this is not what Vaishnava thinks. But naturally, one has to advance. And it's not just, okay, also, I'm not so advanced, though I'm fearing. So one should actually become lamenting, how I am not so advanced. I am not have any faith in Krishna, that I'm fearing one scorpion or one snake. The Krishna is in that snake's heart. So he will protect me. Snake will not come to me. And actually, honestly speaking, it happened one to me. It was some instance that I, in my room, had to sleep at night on a floor. Something was on my bed and I couldn't clean it overnight, and and I was just laid some blanket on the floor and I was sleeping. And then at night I was feeling that someone is crawling on my body, and I was thinking it's some kind of cricket, no? Because all these crickets are everywhere. So I just shoo him off. And then when I woke up in the morning and I saw it was a scorpion, and one scorpion was already crushed under me. So 2 scorpions were in my bed, and one was crushed and one was it. So, and I thought, interesting, they never did anything to me. So not that I am having any big exalted position, but the point is that somehow I was not supposed to be bitten by it, even though I even crushed one during sleep. So I was very amazed that, oh yeah, it's true. It is true that when we are hurt, means it is supposed to be hurt. And even if millions of scorpions around us, if Krishna doesn't want them to hurt us, it won't hurt. So we have to depend on Krishna only. Another instance, I remember I was staying in one place near Parikrama Marg, and for the rubbish there was some arrangement. There was like a little brick hut, and you enter inside and you put your thing inside, and then the guard comes and moves everything out. So I was walking with my bag for throwing out, and monkey noticed that I'm carrying this bag, big monkey like this. So he was coming after me, so I was entering this small hut and putting. And I'm seeing that this monkey is just sitting and waiting when I come out. And I was a little bit cautious that he will think that I still have bag. And I started to call the guard. I said, Baba, Baba, Baba. And this Baba was fallen asleep and not hear anything. And I'm just calling Baba, Baba. And then I'm thinking, why am I calling Baba, Baba? I have to call Krishna, Krishna. So then I started to call Krishna, Krishna. And then a monkey went away. So then I felt, we see, how foolish, Baba, Baba. But I have to be Krishna, Krishna. So in that way, there should be always devotee should always take shelter of Krishna in any kind of situation. And one may think that anya bilashita shunya means that we should not approach Krishna with any kind of material motivations, like this monkey or whatever. And it is true also. But it is explained also by our acharyas that when Draupadi was calling Krishna, she wasn't losing the status of pure devotee, but because it was such an emergency and she had no other shelter. So then you call for Krishna. And I remember one time I was in London temple, and my service was to be in Harinam, go out on street on Harinam, Sankirtan. But then at one point something happened to receptionist, and they put me in reception for sitting. And I was thinking, oh, is it really in the whole temple not one other person can sit in reception? So I was not very happy. But okay, no problem. Temple president telling me, so I am sitting in this reception, but I am very sad in my heart, and I am praying to Krishna, please, can you release me from this reception seva? I want to go out in Harinam. But then I thought, oh, but maybe I am approaching Krishna with some motivation. That how is this that I am praying for this seva or that seva? I should just not pray like this. And then I just opened Srimad Bhagavatam, and I was wondering if I am doing right or not. And there was just this purport of Brajbasis, also under Govardhan, when the rains came and they were calling for Krishna to help, because that was no other shelter they had. So then already, so that was second day, because first day I said one day I can still tolerate this in reception, but second day again they put me. And then I was thinking, oh, now it will be like permanent. So then I started to pray. And then I was feeling bad. And then I opened the Bhagavatam and I saw this purport that even Brajbasis in the danger, they take shelter of Krishna. So then I said, okay, so maybe it's not so wrong that I prayed. And as soon as I thought like this, the temple president was coming down. He said, oh, second day already you are in reception. You are supposed to go on Harinam. You don't sit, we'll find someone else. What are you wasting your time here in reception? This is not your service. So then I said, oh, you see how it is. So, devotee don't want anything from Krishna. He only wants to serve and please Krishna. But in a certain danger situation, when there is nothing else, devotee will call for Krishna. Why? Not because they want to engage Krishna in service, but because this is the only person who devotee can remember. It's Krishna. So they will call Krishna out of love. That's why. So this is one thing. The helplessness in the material world in a difficult situation. But there is a deeper aspect of helplessness. Because even there is no dangerous situation in the world. Let's say we have very good karma, nothing bad happens to us. Or like it was said, we born in Satya Yuga, no one knows anything about any kind of calamity. So then what? Then you're not helpless? You are still helpless. Why? Because you need engagement in pure devotional service directly to the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the actual helplessness of devotees. And our acharyas have written numerous poems, songs, and books where they express these feelings of helplessness, how much they want to be with the Lord and serve the Lord. And why they have written all this? Why they have at all bothered to write? That we can learn from this and develop this eagerness and laulyam for the service of the Lord. We may become helpless because some bad situation happened to me. But such devotee who only wants to really just to serve the Lord, they don't care whether something bad or good or nothing happens to them. They only want to serve the Lord. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his feeling, in his prayer for being engaged in personal service of the Lord. And he writes, I know that you are most kind and affectionate to those who are helpless without their master. I am actually such a fallen soul who is also bereft of my master and feeling so helpless. Therefore, I am now begging for your personal service. Please grant this favor just to save the life of this helpless orphan. Giving up everything else, I am now begging only for your service. Yeah? So what he is praying, he said, if you not give, please save my life by giving me your service. Please save life of this helpless orphan. Then he prays, with folded palms placed upon my head, I'm lying flat before your lotus feet, making this request, which is my most cherished prayer. Please, please, soothe my heart by giving me your service just once. Then, and only then, will I consider this life to be successful. So this is actual helplessness of devotee. And when one develops such a deep mood, then even the whole building is breaking. That's not when they search the shelter. They search the shelter of the master. Because the real nature of jiva is to serve. And what means to serve? The serve means to become a servant. And to become a servant means that we have to have a master. And someone say, but this one is unqualified, that one is unqualified. But am I qualified to get a real qualified master? So that's why I'm so helpless. And I have to pray for it. So such this intense desire to serve the Lord must develop in the heart of a devotee. And this is our aim. And if it's not there, if we can just leniently sit and chat around and do this and do that, or do nothing, sleep or eat, without any anxiety in our heart, means that we are very, very far from this helpless situation, what actually our acharyas are teaching us. Like Narottam, he's praying for chastisement. Anybody likes chastisement? Yeah. So this is our pride. This is our arrogance. Yeah? But servant means to be chastised. So Narottam is praying. I have heard from the mouth of pure devotees that by the mercy of Sri Rupa Goswami, one can attain the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. O my Lord Sanatan Goswami and the associates of Gauranga, all of you kindly fulfill my desires. Let the mercy of Sri Rupa Goswami be upon me, for whoever has taken shelter of him is my master. When will my Lord, Lokanath Goswami, take me with him and place me at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa? Will it ever happen to me that my dearmost Sakhis will chastise their servant Narottam Das? So he's praying, will it ever happen to me that they chastise me? Will it ever happen? Who is praying this? Please, can somebody chastise me? No, they think, why they are all chastise me? Oh, Balaram, Krishna, Balaram, they chastise me. No? So this is not a mood of a servant. But our Acharya is teaching us to become such kind of helpless servant. Raghunath Das Goswami is praying, Devi dukkha kula sagarodare duyamanamiti durgatam janam tam kripa prabhada naukyat adbhutam prapaya svapada pankajalayam. He's saying, having fallen into the unfathomable ocean of intense grief, I am severely tormented and seized by calamity. O Devi, kindly place me upon the indestructible boat of your mercy and grant me the direct service of your lotus feet. And then we have a prayer from Sri Rupa Goswami. Let me just find. Sri Rupa is saying, I have no love for Krishna, nor for the cause of developing love for Krishna, namely hearing and chanting. And the process of bhakti-yoga, by which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing his lotus feet in their heart, is also lacking in me. As far as philosophical knowledge or pious work are concerned, I do not see any opportunity for me to execute such activities. But above all, I am not even born in a nice family. Therefore, I must simply pray to you, Gopi Janavallabha, Krishna, maintainer of the gopis. I simply wish and hope that some way or other I may be able to approach you. So I just hope that some way or other I may be able to approach your lotus feet. And this hope is giving me pain, because I think myself quite incompetent to approach the transcendental goal of life. So this is Rupa, our Acharya, who we have to follow. So not following not just an external way, but this mood, this is the real following. So then there is another prayer which I've been continuously reading myself, and it is so inspiring. It is from Chaitanya Chandramrita. Let me just quickly find. The bookmark fell out and I cannot. Okay, here it is. Now is the age of Kali. The senses are powerful enemies, and the splendid path of pure devotional service is blocked by millions of thorns. I am weak and agitated. Alas, alas, O Lord Chaitanya Chandra, if you will not give me your mercy now, then in this completely confused condition, what shall I do? Where shall I go? So this is how our acharyas are praying. So we should also pray like this, but not just externally, and then we say a prayer and we go and do nice things. Of course, we cannot imitate immediately, but we can try. Some days Prabhupada says we should not imitate Haridas Thakur, but sometimes he says it's nice to imitate Haridas Thakur, it's good to imitate good things, because by imitating these good things you become like that. Yeah? So this is the helplessness, the real helplessness of a devotee. The desperate desire for engagement in pure devotional service. So desperate that if I don't get this pure devotional service, then where shall I go? What shall I do? I'm helpless. So that's one of the deepest aspect of helplessness. And it's not just the devotee is helpless. Krishna, being a rasika, being a rasaraj, the topmost enjoyer, he is so attracted by this helpless position of devotee, by this helpless mind, by this repentance and this humility. How many devotees Mahaprabhu requested, stop being so humble. It breaks my heart seeing you like this. But really what it is just so sweet that it melts the heart even of the Lord. So that's why when devotees have developed this pure love which is actually undescribable in words, you can just feel it when you have it, then Krishna yearns to attain association of such devotee and enjoy beautiful exchanges with this devotee. When he is in separation from Radharani, his heart becomes like a fragile flower in the strong winds of his emotions. But not just Radharani, any devotee who has this deep yearning to serve Krishna and please Krishna, then Krishna is also so much drawn towards that devotee. Krishna is not like some kind of stone-hearted king. Okay, I like to see how you all serve me. It's very nice, good, I'm giving you all the blessings. No, he is a person, the very, very sweet and soft-hearted person. So I wanted, as a conclusion of this class, to read you a little bit from Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where what happened to Krishna when he met his long-lost friend Gopakumar. Gopakumar just returned to the spiritual world as his Gopa, as Krishna's Saka, his friend. And then he entered Vrindavan and he sees that everyone is just almost dying from separation of Krishna because Krishna is just there in a pasturing land. So he had to wait a little bit. And then as he waited, he finally met Krishna. And then Krishna saw Gopakumar. And it says, the sweetness of youth was increasing his beauty, Krishna's beauty, and the shining effulgence of his rain cloud-like luster was illuminating all directions. The eternal residents of Goloka can daily behold an ocean of his abundant, wonderful glories. Being impelled by the prema of this lovely person, he was forcibly drawn to me. Yeah, so because Gopakumar had such a strong love, prema, in his heart, so Krishna was forcibly drawn to him. Yeah, it is described also that prema is it's like a magnet that draws Krishna. Krishna is drawn towards prema. Yeah. So this Gopakumar is there and Krishna is forcibly drawn to him. Upon receiving Krishna's darshan, Gopakumar faints. Then Krishna embraces him around the neck, and as he embraces Gopakumar, Krishna faints and falls on the ground. In an instant, Gopakumar awakes, and when with great effort he frees himself from Krishna's embrace, he sees that Krishna is lying on the ground unconscious, with tears of love making the dusty path muddy. Then the gopis arrived there and began saying, "Aho, who is this? Where did he come from? And what has he done? He has put the Lord of our lives in this condition. Now all the residents of Vrindavan will die. Perhaps this newcomer is a servant of the deceitful Kamsa, crying out various kinds of lamentations, and being very distressed, the gopis surrounded Shri Krishna. Running behind the gopis, all the cowherd boys then arrived there, and seeing Krishna's condition, began pitifully crying. Hearing from a distance that frightening sound of crying, Shri Nandarai and Yashoda, who dearly loved her son, and all the elderly gopis and their maidservants became spellbound and crying out, "Ha, ha!" and stumbling and falling as they were running, arrived there. Next the cows, bulls, calves, black deer and other animals arrived there. Seeing Shri Krishna's condition, they felt faint-hearted and also began crying. So imagine how Krishna is so much affected by seeing his devotee returning in spiritual world, in Goloka. The flow of tears from their eyes drenched the faces, and out of great love they began slowly bellowing. Time and again they approached Sri Krishna, smelling him and licking him. This is animals, yeah? They approach him, smelling and licking. The birds were also grieving, and as they flew about in the sky, they made a tumultuous sound as if they were crying. Their hearts filled with pain, the trees and plants at once dried up. That what more can I say? At that time, all the moving and non-moving living entities became as if they were dead. I was also plunged in an ocean of sorrow. So Gopakumar says, I was also plunged into a great ocean of sorrow, and feeling confused about what I had done, I became very unhappy. So he became thinking, what did I do? Then I placed Krishna's lotus feet on my head and cried out in lamentation. For some reason, Baladevji, whose attire, ornaments and age were beautiful like those of Sri Krishna, who was wearing blue cloths and whose body was splendorous, white complexion, had remained at a distance. But then, with great fear, he came quickly running over. So now Balaram arrives. Seeing the situation, Balaram, the crown jewel of the clever, also began crying. After a moment, he composed himself and began looking around in all directions, trying to find the cause of his brother's condition. Then he took both of my, Gopakumar is saying this, both of my arms and carefully placed them around Krishna's neck. Yeah? So Balaram understood the situation, so he took Gopakumar's hands and he placed around Krishna's neck. Next, Sri Balaram made my hand stroke Sri Krishna's comely limbs. Then he had me call out very loudly with humble words to Sri Krishna, and he also had me lift Krishna up from the ground. When Sri Krishna opened his lotus eyes, which had been sealed due to their flowing streams of tears of love, as soon as he saw me, he was very pleased and began embracing me and kissing me. But then, looking around, he became embarrassed. So, and we are already over time, but just one more last quotation from Srila Prabhupada. His letter in 1968. Prabhupada says, from my personal point of view, I think that I am so sinful that I cannot even approach Krishna to show me any favor. So what is there to pray? Srila Prabhupada says, I am so sinful that how can even I approach Krishna? But I have only one hope. My spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he is very kind. So some way or other, he is dragging me towards Krishna. That is the only hope. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita says, therefore, Guru Krishna, by the mercy of the spiritual master and by the mercy of Krishna, one gets into Krishna consciousness. Narada Muni is our original spiritual master, and he has dragged so many fallen souls towards Krishna, and we are also hoping to be dragged by him through the disciplic succession. Otherwise, if we study our own qualification, there is none. Rather, I have got so many disqualifications. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anybody want to express some comment or anything to say?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, in Kali Yuga, you said that chanting of the holy name, so we know. At the same time, it is said that in Kali Yuga, whatever we think in mind, it immediately gives benefits, and bad things do not give effects in Kali Yuga. So I want to ask, also in Kali Yuga, can curse of Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, other devotees, can it act on us?
I mean, it's difficult to say. It's also said that there is no Brahmanas in Kali Yuga. But if you have made a devotee in such a condition that he's ready to curse you, then maybe not very good for you. So you should not agitate Vaishnava. Have to be humble. I cannot say more. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai.